Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So in this video I'm going to be talking about 3 mistakes that people make when language exchanging. So these days, because of many applications, internet becoming like extremely important and big, and even just things like meetup.com and stuff like that, language exchanging is becoming really common and really popular these days, especially with the world becoming a lot more international than before. So because of that, there's also a lot of people making a lot of mistakes, and they're very common. Everyone makes them, and it's okay if you do, but you have to realize your mistakes and overcome them to be able to get to the next step, to get to the next level, basically. I've also made some of these mistakes. I think, have I made all of them? I think I've made all of them. So I can probably talk from experience. I've also had a lot of experience with language exchanging. Like honestly, most of my language ability comes from language exchange, and I think language exchanging is probably one of the best ways to learn a language. So anyway, let's get started. The first mistake people make is not using the language. So this one happens to a lot of people, especially in the beginner level. Especially when you've just started learning for like a very short time, it's very easy to say like when you meet with your language partner or you're talking online or something, and they say something like, oh, can you speak Korean? Can you speak Japanese? Something like that. And you're like, oh, I don't know that much, so I can't. I don't know enough, so I can't have a conversation or something. Or you just say like, oh, I don't know enough. I've just been studying for 1 week or something like that. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I've done the same thing. Basically what happens is like when you're new to a language, you have like this kind of like wall or like a kind of barrier around you, like a shell, yeah. And to be able to like really use the language, like actually use it, you have to break that to be able to really do it. And it takes a while. But I think it's the best way is to just ease into it. Don't make the mistake that many people do. The longer you keep saying you can't do it because your level's too low, the longer you're not going to be using the language. And the point of learning a language is to talk to people. It doesn't matter how much you know. You're never like, I can have conversations right now in Korean, but I'm not fluent. But I can have conversations. If I keep thinking about what I don't know, then how am I ever going to like get to that point? So right now there's so much that I don't know, but I just use what I do know to have conversation, because that's the point of a language, communication. And that's the point of like body language and stuff. And for those people who just know, like you've just started learning for like a week, you just know how to say like hello, how are you, thank you, that kind of stuff. My suggestion is just use what you know. So if you have usually language partners, they're very kind. They've been in your shoes before. They probably have, most of the time, they will have better English than your level in their language, because most countries, they study English since they're in elementary school. So especially if you're learning Korean, they've been learning English for like, they would have been learning English for at least 10 years by the time you've met them. So they will know how to say like pretty much anything. Like they'll know how to have conversation in English. Even if their English is not that great, they can still have a basic conversation. So they'll know enough for you to understand what you're saying. So you can just speak in English, but then have a time where you use what you know in their language. So for example, like if you only know how to say hello, how are you, thank you, or I'm good, that kind of stuff, then just start off your conversation like that. Say hello, and then they say hello back. Like tell them what you know, and then say that hello. Then they respond. Then you say how are you? Then they say that, and then they say it back to you. Then you respond, and then thank you, like that. And then you can ask them like, what's another thing I could say like after this? Like how do I ask? What did you do today? Something like that. And you can expand slowly. So if you do this just once a day, you'll remember what you know very well, and you can learn just like something like even one new word every time. It's very small, but it adds up. So, if you did that every day for a year, you'll be learning like over 300 words. So, try something simple like that. And at the beginning, you'll feel so nervous doing it, but that's how you build up your confidence. Do it with the small things, because at the beginning, that's the easiest time to do it. If you do it later, when you know like lots of Korean or lots of your language, and you want to like you want to do it in like a proper conversation, you're gonna be so nervous and you're not gonna be able to like get a lot of words out. So it's best to do it as early as possible. So I recommend you with your language partner, just use the little bit that you know and just build up on it with your language partner. And they can do the same with you. Okay, the next one. The second one that people make, the second mistake that people make when language exchanging is they teach incorrect information. So language exchange means it's an exchange. So you are learning from them and they're learning from you. So this can also be done from the other person, but I can't tell the other person, I'm just telling you right now. So when you are teaching your language to the other person, which I assume is English since you're listening to this, but yeah, hopefully, but it doesn't matter what language it is. Whatever language you're teaching to the other person, you should be teaching like correct information. So I've seen on the internet, someone like there was a if you know of a website called Lang8. I used to use that a lot before. Like when I was studying Japanese, it's so useful. You just write diary entries and the native speakers correct your diary. And basically, I used to correct a lot of people's diaries because you get a lot of points, and I was like addicted to like getting a really high ranking on there. But I used to see people's corrections, and some of them they'd correct some like Japanese people's English and correct it with incorrect English, which is horrible. Like they'll correct it and they'll put like no punctuation. They won't put like capital letters. One person told them that all the punctuation goes outside of the quotation marks, which is completely wrong. And there's even people who correct them with incorrect spelling or they use the wrong words or something. Make sure you know what you're teaching. If you don't know what you're teaching, like if you don't know the answer to if they ask you a question about English or your language or something and you don't know the answer, it's okay to tell them that you don't know. You can even tell them that you're not sure about it, but you can try to find the answer for them, but tell them that you're not 100% sure. So that, you don't want to have like a person of the language, like you don't want your partner to go around using the incorrect language. So I've even met Korean people in Korea who talk really strangely, and that's the reason why is because their language partner taught them incorrect English and they thought it was correct, and they use that as normal English. And now it's like the longer they use it, the harder it is to unlearn it. So you have to try your best to make sure you're teaching them correct language. And if you don't know, just tell them like it's okay. You're not a dictionary. You're not a lot of the time you're just a normal person. You're not like an English professor or an English teacher. Like I'm an English teacher, so I think like a lot of my language partners have a higher expectation of me to know about like English stuff, and I do know a lot more than like an average person because I've studied a lot of like English related stuff. But if you're just a normal person, you don't know all these like really deep stuff about English. You just know how to speak in natural English. Just tell them that. Tell them you don't know about these crazy like grammar stuff. Just say, if they make a sentence and they speak unnaturally, you can correct it and make it into a natural sentence. Tell them what you know and tell them what you can't do. It's okay not to be able to do everything. Don't force yourself and give them the wrong information because that will have a really bad effect on them. And also in the same point, when you're speaking, don't use too much slang. Like if they are new to your language, so I'll just be talking about on the English perspective. If they're like kind of like they're speaking like really formal English and stuff, don't use so much slang. That's going to make it so hard for them to understand, and they're going to start mixing the slang with the formal language, and then they're going to start using slang in the wrong situations or the wrong people. You have to gauge what kind of level that person has. So when you meet a new person, like a new language partner, have a conversation with them in the beginning and kind of analyze their ability. So when I meet like a new language partner, I talk with them at first. I ask them like simple questions like, where are you from? Which city are you from? What are your hobbies? Sometimes I try to avoid like asking like what's your job, what do you study, because if they don't work, if they're jobless or something at the moment, they can feel a bit like bad. So I usually just prefer to ask them what their hobbies are. So I ask these basic questions and try to get what their ability are and what their ability is. And there are like, you can kind of see there's some people who speak like it's similar to like a native speaker, and then there's some people who speak like really low level. you should speak to them in a way that kind of matches their level. Like, don't speak to them in like a baby English, but speak to them in a way that kind of like it's not too difficult for them. If you speak with so much slang and their level is like really beginner, they're going to first of all not understand you, and and second of all they're going to be learning all those slangs and thinking of it as normal English. So you need to gauge like where are they at in their language studies, and how should you speak to them in a way that will make it so that they can learn the appropriate English or appropriate language from you. And the third mistake that people make with language exchanging is sticking with the wrong language partner. So this one I think is a bit of a tricky one. So it's not like, basically language partners, there's a purpose. Like, you have a purpose, you want to improve both of your languages with each other, and that's the point of it. So there's no like contract, you don't have to stay with each other for language exchanging. If you feel like that person is not really helpful for your language studies, like you feel like they can't really teach you well, or you don't feel like they're very motivated, or you feel like they're teaching you a lot of incorrect stuff or unnecessary stuff, then stop language exchanging with them. This doesn't mean that you don't have to talk to them anymore, but there's a difference between like, language exchanging and friends. Like, I have like only one language partner that I don't think we're actually friends. We're just language partners. But then majority of times that I meet language partner, we're actually friends. But I actually do have one where we're actually just language partners and that's it. And basically like, I'm not saying you have to do that, but basically it means like they're different things. Like, if they're your language partner, they can be your friend too. And if you feel like that your friend is not really being a good language partner, then stop being language partners and just be friends. And then find another person who's actually a really good language partner. I've done this before. Like, I've had one person, like not one, like this has happened several times, and I've had to just keep finding a new one until I found one that was good. But basically, like, I've had a language partner that was like, they were really good and really kind and everything, they were amazing. But their language teaching, their language, like everything, they don't speak to me often in Korean. Whenever they do speak to me in Korean, they use like super like slang that I couldn't understand. They were really not a good language partner. So basically I stopped using them for like language studies. So whenever I had questions, I didn't ask them, but I asked another person. And basically that person, we were just friends, and I still meet up with them and stuff, but I don't study with them. We're just like friends, and we hang out and stuff. And that's totally fine. You don't have to stick with them. You need to find someone that matches you and someone that will actually like increase your language ability, because that's the whole purpose of it. And then you'll keep making new friends by doing this. So it's okay to stop being language partners with someone and just be friends with them from then on. There's no problem with that. So just keep that in mind, and don't stress about that. It's seriously no problem. So those are my 3 mistakes that I think so many people make with language exchanging. Kind of look at yourself and think like about if you're actually doing that. It's pretty detrimental to your language ability, and you will improve a lot better if you stop these things. I feel like I improved a lot when I stopped doing these things too, so that's why I wanted to share that with you guys. And yeah, I also recommend that you do language exchange. It's the best way to improve your language ability, because that's the whole point of studying a language, so you can talk to people. And what better way to improve your language than by using it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.